Hi, it's Nancy welcoming you to Garden Scroll. We had our first flurries of snow on January the 1st, followed by more snow and ice on the 2nd. Right now, my gardening consists of looking back and planning next season's garden, and of course, my houseplants. So you know, if you've been listening, that I am just not a houseplant person. And yet I love to save some to put back in the garden for next year. So I've been trying, and I have lost some. Just this morning I'm changing the water out, and that has to be done weekly. And even then, some of them the stem will begin to rot. So I did have a few that the stems rotted out of, but as you can tell, there's still a lot of beauty and beautiful color still in the little clippings in the windows. Some of the things I don't like is falling, dying leaves that fall off the plants, and I've got to pick those up pretty much constantly. This one actually has some seed on it that I thought I might try to save. I don't know if that's going to work or not. That I was going to tell you that sometimes, like on this one, it is beginning to rot, and I'm going to actually take this one right here and just clip it off with the scissors. And the rest of it, as you can tell, is still going to work for quite some time, and hopefully it will still be there to put out in the spring. And you know, spring will soon be here. It just goes so fast. Time goes so fast. Today is already the 3rd of January. It feels like it should just be the 1st. But it will go fast, and hopefully we'll have several of these still in the garden, or still ready to go into the garden, and hopefully they will live there and be beautiful for another season. And this little coleus is called Strawberry Drop, and it is one of my very favorite trailing coleuses because it will fill out a whole pot and trail down and just keep going and going and looking more beautiful as the season goes on. It is absolutely one of my favorites. And I found out that I actually do fairly well with air plants. I purchased this little one 2 or 3 years ago, and she's just looking great. Don't you just love her hair? I do, because like I said, I was able to save it. So it may not look great to someone who really does know how and can care for houseplants well and grows air plants, but I'm just very proud of this. So the little coleus in this glass are not doing well. I'll clip these off. As you can tell, they're all yellow, but the rest of it is looking pretty healthy. So, and I felt of the stem, and it's solid, it's not soggy. So I'm going to go ahead and trim off these little ones and put this one back in the glass. Now this one, as you can tell, it's gone. It won't come out of this, so I'll probably throw this one away. I will throw this one away. And then this little one here, I have already trimmed off, you can tell, and it's not doing well either, but it does still have some life on there, so I may just clip around this bad spot and put it back in the little glass and see if it will last any longer. And it may, of course, go ahead and die, and I'll throw it away next week, but we'll see. And when I was looking at this one, it has a little bit of life at the top, and actually this stem is solid, and I would normally keep that, but the stem above it for some reason has withered and died. So this one I will throw this, go ahead and throw it away. It's just not probably wanting to come out of this at all. And I do all this to be frugal, to save money, and also because sometimes you can't find the coleus. I have been looking for a stained glass coleus. It's another one of the trailing coleus, and let me go back to this one, which I just got through telling you is one of my favorite ones, and this is a beautiful one too right here. But I'm going to go back to this one because these are small and yet they're so powerful because they just keep going and keep spreading and keep trailing. And this is one of my favorites, this strawberry drop. These are wonderful too. I just love the bright color, but they're not as small, and I don't know if they even build out as much as full. So, but they're beautiful. But those two, and this one is the one, the strawberry drop. The stained glass does similar to it. It's small, but it's mighty powerful. It's a beautiful plant. Actually, it is my favorite, even above this one, but I could not find it for the last couple or so years, and it's such a beauty. I would love to have it, at least one in my garden every year. More would be great. But that's why I go ahead and bother with all this, and it is a bother sometimes, but you know, also if it's beautiful, anything beautiful, it just makes your day more beautiful. But sometimes they're not beautiful. Sometimes, you know, they just look so pathetic that they're more of an eyesore than a beauty. But as long as there are any beautification in there at all, I'll be trying them. And this little earth sign, or however that's pronounced, Irsine, was such a beauty in the garden last year, and I did not know how it would do in the window to save it, but so far it's done great. So that's a wonderful thing to have hope for this in the garden next year. And one little plant filled out quite a bit, so, and we'll have several little starts. So maybe if it continues to do this well, this should be beautiful in 2022's garden. Some of my passion vines are still doing well too. Have they made root? I'm not sure. I'll have to take another look and see. But this one I wanted to show you is gone. It didn't make it. Why some of them do and some of them don't, I'm not sure. But I will go ahead and throw this one away today, because you don't want to leave the ones that are rotting or dying, you don't want to leave them in, because they will just contaminate your fresh water and cause your other plants to not do well, or maybe even to die themselves. So we're going to try to keep this going. And also I was going to show you this one tiny little one is all that I have, and I do believe it might have a little root started on it. I hope it does. This is the only one that I think I have of the Mexican flame vines, and they're so beautiful in the garden, that bright beautiful orange color. So I'm hoping this will live and go back out, but it's not, I mean, it's not looking really like it's going to do that well, but hopefully it will. It's still alive right now, so that's always a good sign. Let me go ahead and just lift this up for you, and we'll see if we have any root on here. And I don't believe we do, but they are doing okay. Actually, yes, we do. On this side there's a root, so they're doing okay, and hopefully they will make a root and be back in the garden, and hopefully they will bloom. I didn't get any to bloom last year, but I'm going to hope for these. And look at these bright, beautiful colors. All in this glass are just beautiful, bright colors. Some not quite as bright as the others, but they all look great. And I'm hoping they will all be there to shine in the garden next year too. It's January the 3rd, and although it is melting right now, we have already had snow and ice So maybe I do have another chance of having a Mexican flame vine, because I'm pretty sure that's what this one is. And also the rooting has done much better in this little glass and then the one I showed you before, even of the, and of course things are falling off too, of course, but these I think are some of the passion vine little starts too, so hopefully we'll have, and I know this is the Mandevilla here, so we'll see. And as for my house plants, I'll actually have to ask my sister Rosie if she recognizes this little aloe vera, because she gave it to me when it was so tiny. It's just about that tall, and then look at it now. But she probably does recognize it because hers is probably that big and bigger. But anyway, I'm proud of it, as you can tell. And then this is my Polymer Prince Begonia that I love. I'm so besotted with this plant, and it was drooping just a tiny bit, and I was so afraid it was starting to go, but it didn't. It's already coming back up, so it was coming back up from leaning just a bit. And so it's hard for me to tell if they need more water or less water, but I think it's doing great, and I just love this little plant. I just love all those shades of green, from the deepest, darkest, almost brown to the pale green, and just all those twists and turns of the leaf. I just think it's such a beautiful plant. And then the one behind it, this is that Autumn Embers Begonia, and I think it's going to be one of my favorites too. This is the first time I've got one well, so to say, to last, but actually this one was out in the summer garden, and now it's still doing okay. It's doing great, actually, inside. And for me, inside plants just don't seem to do very well, but I'm learning. I'm getting better. You just have to, for one thing, get the correct soil for them, and I've learned that begonias, the Rex begonias, and probably all of them, but they like the same kind of soil that African violets like. So, and they have done much better for me in that soil. Who would have thought that it would make that much difference to a plant? But it definitely does. And of course I put my succulents in cactus soil because that's what they like. And this little plant is doing all right. It's doing great. I mean, I've lost some leaves on it, it's definitely true, but it's still doing really good. And this is the first time that I've been able to actually keep one of these through the winter, and I know it's January, so I have a ways to go, but I'm hoping it will continue to do well. These little waffle plants have done well for me too, although they do need water, and probably because of the little pots that I have them in, they need water a little more often than some of the other house plants do. This is my main aloe vera, and this is the little Polka Dot Begonia that I got just more recently. This one has not been outside yet, but I think it'll probably, if it's been my experience that the begonias just love being outside through the summer, so I'm hoping that they will grow and do well, and then that I'll be able to also save them through the winter inside. I did want to show you my this little plant, and of course this is the dew plant or the ice plant, variegated, and the other one is my variegated Swedish ivy that I have trouble that I've never been able to save through the winter. So I'm going over here to show you that now. And yes, it looks so pathetic, and I did put it in this clay pot. I did not start out with it in a clay pot, but I've got it in one now, and I don't know if that's going to save it, but as long as there's life in it, it will come out when I put it outside, I'm pretty sure, but I don't know if this will last, but I'm hoping it will. Now also, I think I've already shown you my little, this was once a Persian shield, the beautiful purple Persian shield, which I've never done well with, and this is most likely dead. I'm leaving it in there because there's a possibility the root's not dead and it would come out in the spring, but that's a very slim possibility. So, but the rest of the houseplants seem to be doing well, and so I'm just excited about that. I'm glad they are. This one that this is my Foxtel Fern, which I love it. I do, but it's terrible bringing it inside. It just loses needles like crazy. You can tell this one needs to be totally cut off of there. And I just don't do well with these inside at all. But if it will last, they usually perk back up and fill back out and look great in the garden. So that's what I'm hoping will happen with this one. And my little dracaenas, these are the Dragon's Tree dracaenas. I can't believe that I've grown these now for several years and kept them inside. They look great. They do, however, have the stems are bare up to where they have their little tops on them, but I'm just so proud of them anyway. And then of course I love the burgundy. Burgundy just, you know, brings the greens out even more. I love the greens, but the burgundy is pretty special. In not only in a house plant but in the garden. And I noticed that my little Bougainvillea is actually it has put on new growth. So that's great. And I'm trying not to drown my little snake plant, which is exactly what I did last winter. But I've been keeping an eye on it, and hopefully it'll make it this time. I know to be sure to watch that water. I'm no longer just trying to do it once a week, water once a week, although I do check them once a week. But I also try to keep an eye out on them, and I've learned which ones will need some extra water. This one sometimes does, probably because of the pot that I have it in, but it does need water more often occasionally, so I just watch it, and if it starts drooping I do put some extra water on it. But it's been looking great, and I'm just proud of it. My little candle or shrimp plant is doing good. My little zigzag plant, it's doing well too. I wish it had more leaves on it, but I think that will happen when I take it outside. So as long as it lives through the winter inside, and I have a chance to take it outside, I think it will pick up and go. And I'm just not really that much of a houseplant person. Even though they're doing better, and I'm excited about that, and I love that, I just don't particularly care for the houseplants. I don't know why. I just don't like them in the house. I prefer a silk plant in the house because they're always leaves falling off of them. They just become more of an eyesore to me than a beautification of the home. And so maybe someday, if I could actually do well enough they were a beautification of the home, I might like them more. But to me, it's usually just a matter of saving them. If I can just save them through the winter inside, because we all know these will not survive outside. And especially today. Today is January the 6th, January the 6th, and it's been below freezing, so just a little below, though it hasn't got terribly bad yet, but anyway, you know, that's winter. That's just the way it is. And then I'm coming back over to this little shelf unit because I didn't go ahead and show you my other begonias, and they're so pretty. I just love begonias. Why? I cannot tell you why, but you know, you just get that special feeling like I got to enjoy some of our kids and grandkids, and I mean enjoy them. I truly, truly enjoyed them and loved it. And then we went to a restaurant, and my nephew Shane was there. It was just by chance, accidental thing that happened. And I went over to him and said, "Sir, does this restaurant serve good food?" And he said, "Aunt Nancy." And then he had already got his salad, so he walked around with me while I got my salad. And then he said, "Well, I don't know what I'm doing. I just thought I would like to walk you back to the table." And isn't that wonderful when you know that somebody loves you and you can feel it? When you're in their presence, you can feel it. It's so strong and so wonderful. It's just so wonderful to feel that kind of love. So this is, of course, silk, the kind I told you I would have if I wasn't trying to save these. Now, doesn't that look so much better than my other plants I've been showing you? All that color and beauty. But it is wonderful also to have live plants and just to watch them live, and if they can live and go back out in the garden. And I do love my garden, even though it's beginning to be more than I can take care of. But I'm going to do it as long as I can. And this, of course, is my little crown of thorns cactus, and I did tie this up. It was kind of splaying out all over there, and I was afraid we would walk by in my little house. I have it pretty much, I'm not a hoarder, but I'm really right next to one, so we have very little room, especially when I bring in the plants. So and I know there would be some people that would question that I'm not a hoarder, but I'm really not. I'm just right next to it. But anyway, I didn't want this one to get hit when we walked by our little maze, because I love this plant too, and it's getting so big compared. It was such a tiny little thing when I got it. But back to my other house plants. This is a begonia too. This is just a dragon wing begonia, but it's got such shiny, beautiful leaves. It's not doing great inside, but actually it is doing wonderful for me, because usually I kill these inside, and even I couldn't save them in a glass in the water, or actually I was able to save them, but when I took them back outside they didn't make it. So I think this is going to be a much better way to save them. And of course I did put it in the clay pot and put it in the, I think I have this also in some African violet soil, but whatever it is, living, it's doing wonderful, and I love that, of course. And then of course I told you this is the Alternanthera, and I think this one may be called Little Ruby, but I also have one called Purple Night, and I love it too. I love them all. I love that burgundy effect in the garden to blend in with the greens, but it's doing well. And I finally learned that I can just keep this inside. And I've told you before, but I did try this once before and it did not make it. So, you know, it's always worth a second try if the first time you try doesn't make it. So, but everything is looking good, and I'm very grateful for that. This is my ponytail plant. Look at that. And of course the rubber plant. Please be sure to like and to subscribe to the channel.